You are listening to the Gritty Podcast, where we talk about all things gritty. Welcome to the Gritty Podcast. I am your host, Brian Call. I've got Brad Hunt here beside me. Today's podcast is with a new company that we're working with that we think is well worth your time. It's called Blue Coolers. And the two owners, you're going to meet them on this episode. Their names are Marcus Sorensen and Chris Studdert. Right now, we live in a weird time. A lot of the brands and companies that have traditionally supported or just been non-political, just don't seem to be out there like they used to be. Whenever we decide to work with a company, we have two things that are the primary criteria for whether we work with them or not. One is, do they have a great product? And two, do they share our values? And more, it seems nowadays that fewer and fewer companies share our values, especially the ones with great products. So I was introduced to the guys at Blue Coolers. Mark, really, I had lunch with him one day due to a mutual friend of ours. I met him, and all I did was grill him on his values. I started, at first it was gentle. I was probing. I was just trying to suss him out a little bit, see if this is someone that I'm interested in working with. And sure enough, as we went down and deep into the conversation, I realized that, we share a lot of those values. He has convictions. He's got a belief in America like I do. He's a true blue capitalist, which I appreciate. All of that kind of stuff. And as I got to know him, I also really appreciated, as I got to know him, I got to look at his product, and I began to really appreciate the product as well. Check. Two main criteria met. They have a sweet cooler. It's better than your elite coolers on the market, but probably 70% the price, 60% the price.
Yeah, and it has some additional features that others do not have.
So you can get, what's their biggest cooler with the wheels?
110.
You can get a 110 cooler with wheels. I don't know who else makes that.
No, nobody at all. Like the other competitor only has one cooler that has a wheel.
This is legit. So. You can get all of them with wheels, basically. The wheel system is a game changer. I love that word, that phrase. It's a game changer. It's an excellent cooler. Anyway, you just want to check it out. Listen to these guys. It's a great conversation because it's not just about the coolers. We'd get into that, and it'll help you make an informed decision on whether you want to upgrade or get a new cooler or not if you're in the market. But it also shows you who you're working with, who you'd be supporting, what their values are. And it's just a great conversation about business and entrepreneurship and things like that.
Yes.
So you're going to enjoy the show if you tune in and stick with it. I think you'll really like it. We have two giveaways going on right now where you can win a trip to the Western Hunting Summit. If you go shop at Stealthy Hunter, you're entered to win. We're going to pick that winner in about a week and a half.
Yep. Yeah, the week of July 17th.
So you have until July 16th at midnight to go shop at Stealthy. You'll be entered to win a Western Hunting Summit Pass, which is a 3 or 4 day event in Montana with some awesome people.
Yes.
All expenses paid trip. It's an excellent event. You don't want to miss it if you can afford it. If you've been there before, or if you know you want to go, don't wait till the giveaway is over to decide. There's open enrollment now. You can go and sign up for the Western Hunting Summit now, and you just go to westernhuntingsummit.com. You'll see the signups for the passes for 2024. Go ahead and get it now and put in your deposit. And if you win, you'll be reimbursed your costs. So not only, though, do you get the Western Hunting Summit pass, you also get a huge prize package, too.
Yeah. You get a Peaks teepee, you get all the Peaks poles, gators, headlamp. You also get an IA8K pack, which is brand new, the Initial Ascent backpack. You get 10 days worth of meals, which is from Wild Society. So you get 10 breakfasts and 10 dinners, which is not cheap when you're buying freeze-dried foods at all. And then the kicker.
They're good meals.
Yes, they are great meals. And you get a day with Ryan Lampers on the mountain before the summit starts glassing.
There you go.
That was hard to come by.
That's a cool one. So, check that out. Just go shop at Stealthy Hunter.
Yep.
if you follow this show, you know who he is. Go shop over there, and it supports him and Hillary, and it supports what we do. Use the code GRIDDY over there. Yep. And we'll pick that winner here soon. And we have another prize package where you can win everything that Peaks manufactures, the whole thing, and then some. Same thing. Just shop at Peaks. And we're going to pick a winner on July 16th, 17th. You have until the 16th at midnight to get in on it. Yep. And we're going to pick a winner. So big giveaways going on right now. If you missed the film with Ryan and Paley, go check it out. We dropped it last Sunday.
It's a good one.
It's a great film. It's a father-daughter hunt. And not only that, it's not just the interaction between Ryan and Paley that's really cool to watch and Hillary, but the hunt is badass.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun to be there.
The shot. We can all take a lesson from Paley Lampers on how to handle those intense situations in the heat of the moment. For sure, it's
Yes. Yeah. Very calm, cool, and collected.
Yep. It's very cool. And the hunt is recorded well. Brad filmed it. All the detail is there. And the shot she makes, the buck, it's all makes for a sweet film. So check that out. All right. That's it for today. Enjoy the show. All right, folks. Welcome to the Gritty Podcast. I am your host, Brian Call. My co-host today is Brad Hunt. Mm-hmm. And we are at the headquarters of Blue Coolers, and we got the two owners here. We got Marcus Sorensen and Chris Studdert, and we're going to talk about coolers today. And,
yes, we are.
And I know the audience has clicked on this. They read the title. Now they're kind of curious about the coolers. Who is this, and what's this cooler about? And there are a lot of coolers on the market. I mean, it seems like there are a lot of new cooler companies popping up all the time.
There really are.
So here we are. We're sitting here. We're talking to you. How did we get here? I want to get into that a little bit later. What's your story? All of that. But first, for those that are listening who are debating whether they should keep the turn this thing off or keep going, why should they? What's different? Why buy a Blue Cooler? Why even think about it?
You know, that's a good question. I would first off say, look. We're a small company.
The answers, right?
We're a small company. We're headquartered on the West.
Yes.
We love our guns. We love our Constitution, and we love God. Those are three things about our company. That's not the cooler. That's not why you should buy the cooler. It's just I like to do business with people that fit with me.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so
I'm going to tell you right now is it's June, so I like to call it June. But some people like to call it Pride Month. It's not my thing, and I got to tell you, I'm tired of the sort of the woke nonsense that's out there, and more myself, Ryan, Brad, as we choose to work with companies, the main question is what do you stand for my values? I don't want my dollar bills, my voice, my channel, anything to go to promote someone who's actively undermining what I value.
Yeah.
And I'm accepting of all people. That's one thing, but I'm not accepting of all ideas, right? Like there's things that I'm just like, if you're anti-freedom of speech, if you're anti-Second Amendment, if you're going down that road, I'm pro-freedom is what I am. We have a problem. And one of the first things I wanted to find out when I was introduced to Marcus, and because
Marcus is an attorney, so you're always like, well, this guy's a little sketchy.
Well, with Marcus, I'm like,
I might be, I mean,
he's a recovering attorney.
They brainwashed me for a few years. They probably did. I'll be honest.
The first thing I wanted to do, and he could probably tell from my probing, was how dedicated are you to the values that I hold dear? That was step one before we even talked about anything else. Once I was clear on that, we could have a conversation about is your company and the cooler you're making worth the dollars I'm paying for it. And so I think that's actually more on people's minds than it has been in the last 100 years.
Yeah.
Do you carry do you support my values?
So that's why you ask the question. And like I say, that's not my answer why our cooler's great, but I'm like you. I do want to do business with people that have the same core set of values that I do. And if my dollar is going to somebody that doesn't, I'm going to change that and give it to somebody that does.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. To add to Chris's answer, I'd say one of the main reasons we started the company was all around family. Right. So family's a big, in addition to the things Chris said, family's a big thing for us. We believe that it's under attack in a lot of ways in society.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we want to give families a way to, we believe the outdoors and getting outdoors is like one of the best ways to just bond as a family. Because you get to those places where you can't connect to your cell phones and all the other crap that goes along with it. And your kid, so my family, we love to go out and boat, right?
Yeah.
And it's the one thing I can get. I have 4 kids. I can get all 4 kids on the
On
boat,
board.
and everybody has a good time, and they can't escape, man. They're
Yeah.
there. And so coolers are such a big part of getting into the outdoors, right? It was one of the things that really got us into this was like, these things are cool. All these new cooler companies are coming out, and they're great, and they perform well. They're awesome, but damn, they're expensive, right? So like, do we have a way to like do this a little more affordably that makes for families to have these experiences outdoors just that much better?
Yeah, years ago, I was watching Shed Crazy.
Yep.
Ben Dedimonte, a friend of ours. And he, especially when he first came on to social media, he was doing like little skits and stuff. And he had this skit where one of the first ones I saw, which killed me. He was sitting there and he's talking. He's like, yeah, so my wife and I, we've been married just for so many years and it's finally time. We're so stoked. We've got our mortgage kind of all figured out. We're going to be a first time buyer. We got all the money, the financing we got it all dialed, and I cannot wait to get my first Yeti cooler.
Yeah.
And I died because, I mean, for real, I grew up in the generation where you could go to, the Kmart and you pick up a Coleman.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. And now, and it was like $50, $70
on the high
end.
Exactly. and now you're talking about a $600, $700, $800 purchase to get a cooler. And the question I initially was, am I really getting performance out of this that I think I'm getting at this price? And for years, Anthony, my very frugal dear friend, he and I hunted a lot together. It was like, no, no way. And then it became one thing that Yeti has done a fabulous job of is creating a cool factor, a brand factor to having a Yeti. So Yeti, you didn't buy it for its performance per se. You bought it to be part of the club.
Yeah.
And to get the sticker.
Yeah, totally. And
they're a great marketing company that sells coolers.
Yeah, to say that I use Yeti, therefore I am XYZ.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm an outdoor.
It's a lifestyle brand. It's a statement brand about who you are. Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so people were willing to pay, I think, quite a higher price for it, for that the clout and the cachet that came with it. Mm-hmm. But I don't think it carries that like it used to, especially as they went on to Soccer Moms and they kind of don't show any hunting kills on their social pages. Correct. And I don't even know if they've got fishing out there as much as they used to.
More fishing than hunting.
But they have all these rules around it as they're trying to appeal to the masses and into the hunting community at the same time.
And they're a publicly traded company now, right? So they're constantly chasing earnings per share and going after the big.
And now with ESG and all the incentives to embrace ideologies and woke agendas that I don't agree with, any corporate company I'm now very suspicious of their I guess commitment to my values, right? So I'm not, and I've people who followed my channel for quite a long time. I prefer to find companies that are smaller and grow with them. Mm-hmm. And I like to see a smaller company that has my values get their name out there and then be well known and become something much bigger while maintaining all that value in terms of what I care about. So we've kind of done that from companies that are smaller like Peaks and Initial Ascent,
absolutely.
Stealthy Hunter, to move on. We feel like these companies, like you guys, smaller. There's no board of directors out there that are listening to some guys in California.
You could buy a cooler from us and call in and actually talk to one of us.
Like so all of that, that matters.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
That's a big deal.
I like it. I like having an association with my customers.
Yeah.
Like I know some crazy customers all over the country who just bought a cooler from me.
Yeah.
And now we're buds. Well, I literally have invited customers out to come go snowmobiling with me. I'm like, look, I'll hook you up. Let's go snowmobiling. Let's have a good time.
Yeah.
And they just bought a cooler from us.
Well, and I think, Mark, as you were saying, with the cost thing, back to the Yeti deal, that there's a market for that. People want a nice cooler, but they just don't want to pay those prices. Yep. And where it doesn't have the cachet that it used to, I think it's a prime time. But I really want to get into, though, why have so many cooler companies failed? Because I've seen a lot of that too. They pop up, they're there, or they're stagnant, they're flat.
Yeah. So in all honesty, I'll tell you right now, if you're thinking I want to go start a cooler company, right? Yeah. Like there might be better options, dude.
Rethink your thought process.
It's a really big item that we're shipping all over the country, and it gets really expensive, right? And doing it the right. So when Chris and I set out to do this, we said the whole focus, the whole goal of us doing this was, can we provide the same quality product
or better
at an affordable price compared to Yeti, which is kind of the standard bearer.
We usually just say that other brand. Yeah. We don't even really say that name. We don't use that name here.
Ever since they sued us, we stopped talking.
So we just say that other brand.
So
I love it.
Yeah. So we did accomplish that, right? We're generally 40% less than Yeti on price. And we believe, I know the quality is on par or better. We'll hold ice just as long as any Yeti you got out there. It performs the same.
I would argue that it's not on par. It's better. I can just say that flat out. Like we've been through. I look at that other brand's cooler, and it's the same cooler as it was for the most part
from the beginning,
8-9 years ago. Nothing. We have been through 3 iterations of molds, very expensive to recreate a mold to do this. And yet we just said, let's bite the bullet and let's do it, because it's better every time. We've added features that our clients have said, hey, if you could just do this.
I'm just going to jump ahead a little bit because I'm very curious. And, because I did some podcasts with OtterBox when they first started launching their cooler. They're not around anymore in the cooler space. I have worked with Yeti for a few years. Love the folks down there that I worked with at the time. They were great. I have pretty much had my hands on every cooler brand for free or otherwise. Orion, I used a lot of their stuff. Randy Newberg had sold them for a long time. There was Canyon, there's Grizzly, there's all throughout all the names there, Chris. So you don't have to.
I like it.
They're all out there.
Make me feel better.
Even the Colemans, right? And so my question, as these companies, they all had their thing that they were sort of saying about their cooler. Especially OtterBox, they were convinced that they were going to be the next Yeti when I interviewed them, and
everybody is. That's
for sure.
They're start right,
and their cooler was different in a lot of ways, and they talked about how it would hold longer, it was better against bear, and they put a lot of time and money, millions of dollars, in fact, into their whole thing, and then it didn't pan out. Okay, and then some of the other companies are just flat, right? So. What are your thoughts on that? Why didn't those do a little better?
I have my thoughts, but you go first.
I would argue that they thought they would be the next
Yeti.
Other cooler company.
I mean,
thank you.
OtterBox just said yes. We're going to take over 50% of that market.
We've never said that.
Yeah.
Look, because that means I have to spend a lot of money that doesn't get back to the customer. It's advertising, it's extra people, it's
film
stuff,
festivals.
It's stuff that doesn't go back to the consumer. So Marcus and I have always said, hey, we'll grow slow. We're fine with that. We want to be here in 10 years. We want to be here in 20 years. We don't need all the fluff to grow slow and be steady and have a quality product and stand behind our customers. Like you'd be hard pressed to find one of our customers that say they stink at customer service. I think we're incredible. Like we're really good and very responsive, and we kind of pride ourselves on that. Yeah. Do we give up maybe a little fast growth to do that? Sure, but but we're okay with that. You know, I have 6 kids. I've had 4 of my 6 kids work here at the warehouse. Marcus has his kids work here at the warehouse. Like,
as you can see, this isn't like glamorous, right?
I mean, we keep it thin. We keep it because our whole goal is to let families go camping and take a cooler.
Yeah.
That didn't kill them.
Because when I think back at the coolers I just mentioned, they all basically do the same thing. They hold ice. Now, one might hold it another 24 hours longer than another. One might have a little better feature in how they close the lid or how they function. But generally, they're all kind of similar, right? With a little performance metrics, gains here and there in design. It would be nice if you could get that quality at a much better price, really, at the end of the day, as a consumer.
Yeah.
That's big.
Like, a lot of business, I'm smart, and I tell you guys how to run your business, people would say, don't sell on price, right? Like, you need to sell on other things. Like, I agree with that to a certain level, but to your point, coolers at some level are a commodity, right? It's like, it's a box of insulation.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, I don't like saying that because it feels like it kind of cheapens our product, because I don't believe it's just a box of insulation. We have other things we've done.
Yeah.
But to a lot of consumers, it is. So if that's the case, then what are we going to do to differentiate in some way?
Yeah.
Right. It's boring sometimes. Some of the things we differentiate on are simply like fulfillment. Right?
Yeah.
And being able to get product to people efficiently and cost effectively and quickly. It's important. In the middle of the summer, you'd be surprised how many customers are like, oh crap, I need a cooler in 5 days. And if we can't get it to them in 5 days, then they're going somewhere else.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The other thing I see happen a lot, like you mentioned OtterBox, is I think if you are some other type of company first, and then you want to get into coolers secondary, it's not going to work. Like,
really,
you have to be a cooler company first to compete in this high end space, right? Like, that's, I think, like everything we do, all our, our shipping, our fulfillment, our advertising, everything revolves around coolers first. And so that, I think, helps us be a little more committed and sort of myopic to sales of this specific product, and not, hey, how's this, and going, oh, and how's our cooler product doing?
It kind of reminds me of the entrepreneur who won't quit his day job to really go in.
Right?
He's still a full-time accountant, but he's also running a cooler company on the side.
That's a good example.
At some point, it's like, if you don't jump all the way in.
My grandpa always said, or get off the pot. Like, that might be a crude way of saying it, but you kind of have to do it. You kind of got to go, hey, this is who we are. This is what we are, and we're all in on it.
Yeah, I can see that. I think OtterBox they were crushing it before they invested in the cooler space. They were crushing it on the one end, but also I looked at Yeti and their branding, and I was like, yeah, I'll throw on a Yeti hat. I'm not going to put on an OtterBox hat. Like the mountain you have to overcome there to compete, to me, especially if your price point is the same or higher.
Yeah.
I'm like, look, at the end of the day, we want a cooler that works, right? That's number one.
Yeah.
But when people are buying a Yeti, it was because it was for more than that, right?
Yeah.
Who's going to be able to catch up to that monster and have that lifestyle feel?
To be honest, nobody will.
And we don't want to.
We don't want to. Yeah. The nice thing about that other cooler brand is their messages over the years have kind of got a little, they've kind of gone away from who I am.
Yep.
And so I'm like, all right, keep going away from who I am. I like it. Yeah. Keep going down that path. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And if we can gobble up some of that market share and show people that, and here's the number one question, and I guarantee you'll get, before you're even to this part in the podcast, you'll have had 8,000 messages. Where do they manufacture them coolers? And hey, we manufacture overseas in Asia.
Yeah.
I hate it. I hate that we have to do that. We have tried for 6 years that we've been, from when we first manufactured our first cooler to now, we've tried to not manufacture them overseas. Simply the way our current government,
Yeah.
what we allow, what we don't allow.
Yes.
It's not a fair playing field.
Right.
And so we can't even get close.
No.
Not even in the ballpark.
You
If
don't
we
even-
could get in the ballpark, we would do it. We can't even get in the. We're not even in the game.
Yeah, like I remember hearing this years ago. Someone was saying with the tumbler, right? Or even carbon, like with carbon
pulls. Exactly.
There's not even a machine here that can make it. It doesn't exist.
Any tumbler you buy came from overseas.
Correct.
We don't have
they
the
don't.
tooling, the machines, the factories. They don't exist here.
As a country, we've gone away from being a manufacturing country.
Good or
President Trump,
bad, it's
President
not a
Trump
good
came
thing.
out
Yeah.
with tariffs, and I'm like, all right. And then where do those tariffs go to? I still don't know. We pay a crap ton in tariffs, but they don't come back to me, motivating me to build a factory here, to hire U.S. workers and produce here.
Yeah.
There's no incentives for that money to do it. If
I
they
think
would, I'd do it.
You need someone in office more than 4 years if you're going to
Yep.
bring manufacturing back to the
Yeah.
U.S.
It's a
someone who
long-
believes
A
in
concerted
that journey.
20-year,
It
let's
took a
bring
long
it
time
back.
to export it all. It's going to take
Yeah.
a long time to bring it back.
Correct.
Yeah.
So it's a real world issue. I think one of the things that I say to that question is I'm still supporting people that have my values here, even though the
Absolutely.
manufacturing isn't there.
Yeah, I mean,
And dollars that you make are not going to go into taking over my kid's public school,
No.
Well, here's
promoting things that I don't
Yeah.
believe in, or other issues. You have a value system that's like, I want to give back to hunting and I support hunters. That right there carries a lot of value. And so even if there were a cooler place that made coolers here, but then they went out and they
Correct.
actively promoted against my values on
Absolutely.
every turn,
Yeah, it doesn't work.
it's like, you're not helping me.
Yeah, that's exactly what I
I'm
was
giving
gonna
my
say.
money to someone who is undercutting the future of the country,
Yep.
even though the manufacturing is not here. So it's a much more nuanced subject than I think people.
well,
I
Often.
totally agree, and
Yes.
we have this discussion a lot with customers. And I say, look, if you really want me to be manufactured in the U.S. cooler, will you pay $800 for it?
Right.
And I'll do it tomorrow.
Right.
And without fail, everyone's like, well,
yeah.
I don't know about that.
Yep, that's a reality.
You know,
And
hopefully that'll turn around. Hopefully in 20 years we can say, hey, we're a country that manufactures again, and we don't have to rely.
Correct.
I'm a big fan of Origin, and I love what they're doing, and I'm using a lot of their clothing and their gear, and they've tapped into the hunting space. But some of their garments, they're just not as technical as the other ones. And I'm left with it in this conundrum where I'm like, well, I want to support a hunting company, but in some of these like 0 degree temps in these areas where I'm going, this piece of technologically advanced clothing
Yeah,
wear
important.
is really critical.
Yeah.
Especially when
Sweat
it can
wicking
get wet
stuff,
and
you
hot
got-
and
you gotta
cold
have
and
it.
frozen. And so it's like I'm still buying up what I can use and leverage, and I'm using it in the conditions that I can to support Origin and what their future is. But at the same time, I struggle with giving up that other stuff when I need a more technical piece for a certain set of conditions.
Mm-hmm.
I think most consumers are like that. We want to support the America First model and so on, but at the same time, we don't want to give up the iPhone.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good.
You know?
That's a perfect example. So think about iPhone, right? Like think about Apple. I don't think anybody considers Apple not an American company, but they manufacture all their phones in China.
Look at
and
Nike
we're
shoes.
constantly. I love how we always get comments on
Someone's
social media
on their-
on their iPhone saying this.
I can't support you.
Yeah, like
while
you're
they're using their
typing that on the
Chinese-made
iPhone.
iPhone.
And I appreciate it. I appreciate the sentiment.
Yeah.
But let's dig down into that sentiment and let's be clear.
Well, I think
Look,
my point is like a company is more than just where its manufacturing
Correct.
happens.
Absolutely.
Okay? Like
Yeah.
there's so many levels to what we do. We do assemble some stuff here in the U.S. We have U.S. warehouses. We have U.S. employees. We have
Shipping.
two U.S. warehouses.
All that dollar bill that goes into shipping, all
yeah,
that kind of stuff.
90% of our work is done here.
The thing
All
is
our-
too,
yeah.
All our employees are here.
yeah, you
All our
take
warehouse spacing is here.
a lot of companies that have that label that says "Made in the USA." A lot of their products, yes, but then they have accessories and
Yeah.
plastic parts and stuff like that are made overseas.
Yeah.
But then it goes back to what you said, Brian, is even though that company says made in America, it's where are they putting their dollars to support the American people, those who understand.
There are companies that are strictly made in America.
Yep.
Companies that are made overseas. And the company made in America actively contributes dollars to fight against my future in terms of hunting, gun rights, things that I hold dear. The First Amendment, they're pro censorship, and they actively put on their socials stuff against it, but they're made in America.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the other side that's not made in America, but everything they do is to support what I believe in. And it's for me, that becomes the primary driver is what are the values of the people who own it, and where are they putting their money that they do get outside of the manufacturing? Where do they put their money?
Yeah.
And the political clout that a brand has as it grows and becomes bigger and bigger and more known, the more that, like, for instance, we put someone's voice out there, I don't care if you're made in America and you're over here putting porn in my kid's school.
Yeah.
Yeah. And our position when it comes to businesses, we pretty much try and stay out of things politically, right?
Yeah,
I mean, that's I personally believe, if you're a company, you have a product.
Yeah.
We sell coolers.
I like that.
Whether it's just like, like Michael Jordan used to say, Republicans wear sneakers too,
exactly.
Right? Yeah. Conservatives, liberals both need coolers.
I'd like to go back to how it was, in fact, where
absolutely.
I didn't really know.
We didn't have a clue.
Yeah, just make a great cooler.
We could
That's
still
all I'm
have a
asking.
conversation.
If we can just all go back to that, I think we'll all be happy, right?
Absolutely.
I got a lot of friends who are no, I don't have
But
that
the
many
reason
friends.
the reason I want to buy, though, the reason it mattered to me, Marcus, when we met, the test is if you were a woke person with woke values, I was out.
Yeah.
There's no way we would even have a conversation.
And I get why you have to ask that these days too,
right?
Yeah,
because times have changed.
Yeah.
We're there now. So look, I'm not asking a company to go out and be political. I'm just asking you not to undermine my value. Just make good coolers. Okay? That's it. Just make a great cooler and serve the community through the product you make.
Yeah. And you know what I will...
I'm going to say, if you look at any advertising or any Instagram post or anything we've put out in our whole life, it's about family. It's about being together with good people.
First responders.
We give a ton of first responders back. I come from a big line of police officers, and so we're always trying to give back. And everything we put out, I throw that challenge out there in 5 years. Try to find something that doesn't say that and will only say that. Yeah. Because that's the core. Like for us, we could sell more coolers and do some more sketchy stuff, but now it's not the core, and now we're not being who we are.
Back to the cooler companies who failed. You had mentioned that they're not a cooler company first. But what are some of the other factors you think that may have been playing a role?
So I still go back to a lot of the companies that start up in this space. Mm-hmm. It's usually somebody that's like, hey, that's cool. Like, I want to start a cooler company too.
Yeah.
And that first step is fine, right? That's pretty easy. You can go, and a lot of times you can go find a mold that just some factory has, and they'll slap a sticker on it, and it's your cooler, right? I think one of the things, and I think this was a hard decision for us early on, was we want to have our own product, right? Our cooler is our molds. It's our brand. You will not find another cooler out there that is this anywhere with a different logo on it or something, right? And so...
And if you dive deep into some of those online,
they're all the same.
Start putting them side by side. You're like, wait a second,
that brand matches that brand.
With a different branding.
Yes, and then so that step one is pretty easy to kind of get into the market. The barriers of entry are pretty low.
Yeah.
But then you get there, and then you're like, okay, now what do I do? Right.
Yeah.
And I think one of the backgrounds we have is, and this is where Chris is always making fun of me because I'm nerdy. I'm the nerdy guy of this. I'm the analytical guy.
This is the Excel spreadsheet right here.
Yeah. I live in Excel spreadsheets, and I would say that a large part of the cooler game is a marketing game, and we have to play that too.
Yeah,
not necessarily branding. Like we realize we're not the brand, but there is a marketing aspect to it.
Right.
How do we reach
Everything is that way.
consumers?
You have to be.
Yeah. How do we reach consumers efficiently and still get a return on those dollars?
Especially
Because
when
we can't
there's-
afford to just blast money into brand
Correct.
advertising and not get a
Yeah,
return.
especially when there's a lot of coolers out there to choose
Yeah.
from. So how do you get people to look at yours instead of someone else's?
Yes.
For
The
sure.
nice thing over COVID and on the back end of COVID is we've seen that start to thin down a little bit. There was in 18, 19, 20, it was like
Yeah,
a
if they
ton
didn't-
of them. Now I see
Same with podcasts.
maybe
a lot of them washed out.
Yeah, it feels good
Yeah.
that
I mean,
some
that's
of
a good example. Yeah.
Some of them couldn't.
Yeah.
You had to weather the storm,
Yeah,
and
Make it
Marcus and
through.
I made a commitment like, hey, we're going to weather this storm.
and we've weathered some storms,
yeah,
dude.
we're going to do this for the long haul.
Well, and Brad and I, we've been using the coolers now for about 6 weeks or so.
Yeah.
Maybe 2 months, somewhere in there. And, we beat the hell. They look different than when we got them. So they're a little
should.
banged up.
So-
They're a lot
I
banged
have
up.
to do a little photoshopping and when I take pictures because they're a little
look,
rubbed
I'm-
on the
That's
side.
how they should look, man.
I'm hard on stuff.
They're rough on the edges.
I'm really hard on stuff. But one of the first things that attracted me to the coolers was the wheels.
Yeah.
I am shocked that so few companies do the wheel thing. It's a big deal. It's not just a little thing. It's a big deal. And even Yeti or that other cooler company,
Yeah.
even they are missing wheels. And then the other thing too is, I'm not going to name the name, but there's a couple other cooler companies that I've had my hands on. Damn if they're not heavy.
Yeah,
What? Like,
they're
what
beasts.
the heck? Like, it's empty.
It's still heavy.
You need like a
Forklift.
dolly.
Yeah.
To move
They're
that thing.
beasts. We've always
And they don't have wheels.
Yeah, we've always said, and I bet in our sales, regardless of what model cooler we're using, what size, our wheels are probably 60 to 70% of what
That's a
we
good number.
push because we're users. Look, we have like 5 models of coolers. I'm an owner. I manufactured the first cooler we ever made. I use the wheels.
Yeah.
I'm 50-plus-year-old guy. I don't want to
Well,
hoof that thing around.
And I'm sitting here going, what can it really do? So I'm loading that cooler up as big as I can get, as much meat, frozen meat, hard meat in their game bags, and then picking that thing up and I'm wheeling it across uneven ground, to go, okay, is this a gimmick or do the wheels work? And sure enough, they work. And I'm going, hey, this is pretty sweet. This is they've got something going on here, and I just haven't experienced that. And the thing that I've noticed about some of these coolers that weigh twice as much, it seems, it's not like they keep ice longer.
Yeah.
So what are they doing that brought them to that weight that you guys have been able to be a little different
I
on?
think the weight issue, there's two sides of coolers. There's the roto-molded world, which is what we produce. They have you should buy one cooler and have it for your life. They take a beating. Yeah. They just do because of the way they're manufactured. And then we have 2 inches of insulation inside. So a roto-molded process is this big machine that spins around the mold and it chucks the plastic to the outside. And it creates this.
Chuck, that's a technical term.
Yeah. It creates this cavern.
That's all we get from Chris.
Yeah, that's as far as you're going to get from me. But it creates this cavern that then after it cools, you inject insulation inside of it, and you get this rigidity, and thus you can have a cooler that'll hold ice up to 10 days.
Yeah.
Then the other side of the coolers, you have blow molded coolers, which is a completely different process. It's a good cooler. It's much lighter, but they don't have the life of a roto-molded cooler, and they don't quite hold ice as long.
That are value.
So thus, you'll always have a little bit of a weight issue when you're dealing with a road molded. Right. Thus, we constantly push wheeled coolers. I always ask customers, hey, what are you going to use this for? And the second they start saying, I'm going up in the mountains, I'm going to hook, I'm like, go wheeled. I know you've told me you don't want wheeled. I'm telling you.
Yeah, but I think some of the reasons they don't
wheel.
want wheels is because the wheels are junk.
Yeah, I'm sure. They've had bad experience with
Yeah,
them
they
in the
had
past.
wheels and they're like, dude, this thing doesn't roll.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You put weight in it and the wheels become a joke.
Yeah.
That's the $50 Coleman cooler.
Yeah, yes.
It is.
Yes.
It is something that's so. Chris mentioned we've had 3 iterations. In our generation 2, we had one of the things we did is we had a solid axle for the wheels, but unfortunately we had to move the drain plug in order to do that on the other side. as we started using that, we realized people really want that drain plug on the same side as the
Lift it
wheels,
up,
right?
yeah.
You just tilt
So
it.
we had to sort of re-engineer how those axles work so that we could get the drain plug on the same side as the wheels, right? Just like they're
those
dumb little
details
things,
matter,
right? But they
dude.
do matter.
Yeah.
And you got the
quirky
leverage
little-
from that handle, right? You pull the cork,
Yeah.
dump it. Yeah. How many of us have been there, like heaving up that one side, sticking a rock under it or whatever, trying to, and
it's those quirky little details that you might not even notice. So even
Till you use it.
on version 2, we had these handles. The handle used to come down and come straight over,
Right.
and it was a great handle. But I'm using it. I'm going down to the dock, and my ankle keeps getting hit.
yeah,
I'm nicking my ankle all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, how do I get this handle so I'm not nicking my ankle? So now our handles are a T-bar. So now I can stand and hold it completely off to the side. I don't hit my ankles anymore.
Well, and that's the latches. That was like very first thing I noticed on
it's
it.
like
Is I had a quarter in my hand and I went,
Yeah.
opened it, and it was like,
an L
And
quarter.
our first
Yeah,
one,
yeah, yeah.
yes, and our first
Not
one,
a
you were
quarter,
like, you had to pull down on the,
Yeah,
it worked.
and
But
the thing too is like with the other brand, you got that rubber pole and
Yeah.
you stick it on there and stuff. I guess the idea for that was that, a bear, if it got on it, wouldn't be able to figure out
you
how
got to do your
open
tri-pole to get it down.
But it's just,
and on.
first of all, it's over time. I feel like the lid just sort of peels up, even though the handles, anytime in the sun and over time.
It does.
And you're like, why can't you just build something that just works like this? It just latches.
Yeah.
and to be honest, that bear thing, like, come on.
You got locks
Have you
here.
ever
They're-
hunted?
they're right. I mean,
You're not leaving food. If
No.
you're in a place where bears are coming in, you're putting them up
even
high.
even if you left it in your truck, you're still if you're smart, you're putting a
You're
lock on
locking
it.
Locking that thing.
Yeah.
You're locking it. I've had wall tents ripped into, and we've always got our stuff hanging up.
Yeah.
And even then, I mean, we've been like 20 feet in the trees in the middle, like 15 feet up, and I've had come home and I'm like, dude, how the hell did that bear get to that thing?
Yeah, absolutely.
Bear and food.
That's
You don't get in the way.
So that was pretty unique. I mean, I liked that about
That's a
the
third
cooler.
generation thing too. Yeah, we're big. We liked how we did.
Just
things
like, dang,
it's
it's
just
so
a lot
handy.
easier. And then we added the pressure release valve.
That
there,
was my
too,
next
right?
thing.
So
Bring that up.
Okay, you want to talk about
yeah,
it?
yeah, because that is pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Because we've all been there before too, and you're like,
Well, you guys would be the prototypical guys who would struggle with, because if you're doing elevation climbs, your cooler, it will seal so tight that you'll be trying to get the lid off, and you're like, what the?
Yeah.
I cannot get this lid off.
oh, that's happened. You know, stretch pulls. You're just stretching and stretching and stretching and stretching. You're like, when this thing comes up, it's gonna whack my knuckles, and you're just irritated as all get out. Yeah.
So this thing is just a simple twist, and it will release the pressure inside, especially if you're using like dry ice or something in your cooler. That will create that pressure lock even worse. So this will just, you'll hear it, the air leaks out, and then the lid opens.
And that's not available on the other company's stuff.
No, it would not be.
So why not? Why did they do that?
Well, dude, I always wonder that too. Like, why?
Look.
Because this got to add a little cost to the manufacturing.
Go again. That their cooler is the same cooler it was like 9 years ago.
It's true.
It really is.
It really is.
And the reason people buy it is because they've done a great job marketing it. Not because it's the best cooler.
Yeah, we can name
Well, some
here.
of their
I can
soft
name-
coolers or the tumblers and stuff, they're pretty cool. They innovate, but
Yeah.
you're right. The cooler is just the same.
It's the same.
I don't know the reason why, but I would guess having switched versions 3 times on our own at a scale much less than Yeti, that trying to switch over to a new mold and a new design it's
a big investment.
New manufacturing cost.
Yeah,
right?
especially at the volume that they're making it. That thing is
a big
those are
investment.
built.
And
And they
the
have to get
logistics
return.
of it.
They're a public trade company. They're always about. We're like, hey, this might eat into some return, but we want our customers to be.
Well, this is
happy,
part of why I
confident in the
like
product.
working with a younger, smaller company that's innovating. Right, like you're in that stage where you can make some of these adjustments.
We're still
this is
agile
version
enough that
3.
we can do that.
Yeah, exactly. And it's pretty cool to be part of that. We're part of that with some other companies we work with, where we're like, hey guys, have you thought about this?
Yep.
Because wow, and because we're such avid and intense users, we can really provide some information, some detail that they hadn't thought of.
Yeah.
And then they can actually make those changes. One of our biggest pet peeves is when we're working with a company who's been established for a long, long time. They're the big dog in the space. And you come to them and you say, you know what would be great? And you tell them and they go, yeah, whatever. They don't listen to a word you say.
But you know, the
they don't make any changes. And then you go talk to the new guy who's like, I'm going to do that.
Yeah, I like that.
Can you make me a boot dryer for a backpack hunt? No.
Austin Bernstetter will.
Yeah.
Our buddy in his garage can make them, and now we sell the hell out of them.
Yeah.
Well, I think the reason that happens sometimes is because that guy you're talking to, his answer is no, because he can't actually make that decision, right?
Yeah.
Like companies get so large and so many levels of bureaucracy that it's hard to do that, right? Whereas we're still in that phase with our business where we don't. I mean, there is no bureaucracy.
I think they also.
There's no levels, right?
The Excel spreadsheets
I'd
are
say-
the bureaucracy.
Yeah,
I'd say that there's that, but I'd also argue this, and I think it's more true. They're like, there's a hubris there. Who are you?
Yeah.
We're Mr. Top dog in this space.
There's a disconnect from the end
We have
user.
engineers that and designers that we pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to. What makes you think your idea is dumb? You don't know it, but trust me, we would have thought about that by now if it was worth having.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, you spend your whole life on a CAD program at a desk, and your engineers pretend to hunt. You're not the same. And they think they are. They think they have it all figured out. And that's why it's refreshing to work with those smaller companies.
You have to be a user.
Yeah.
And really, we were users. That's what started us into the cooler. I remember when we manufactured the first cooler, it was out of frustrations over what they were charging. And I'm like, man, I've been in the manufacturing world for a while. I think I could do this. And literally, we manufactured. We brought a container in. We weren't a business then. We're just like, let's bring one in. They sold so quick that we brought another container in, and then we got looking at each other. I'm like, have we just caused a problem for ourselves?
It's time to jump in.
Well, yeah, it was one of those things where like, oh, this kind of worked. Now what?
Yeah.
'Cause we both had other jobs.
Now
at the
we
time.
have to work.
Yeah.
And we talked about that, but there was that point where it's like, okay, we got to like either get off the pot on this thing, right?
Yeah.
One of the questions I had too on the hinges, because my other coolers, the hinges are failing.
Yeah.
Like the rods are coming out. So you have on here no fail hinges. What does that mean?
So if you look at like one of your Coleman or Igloo coolers, and you look at how those hinges, how the lid is connected to the base,
Right.
Usually it's a little plastic piece with some screws.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That thing's gonna break literally in like
that's
the
where
day
it
you
always-
take
Because
it
the thing
home.
is, the
We
sun
all
is
have
beating
our-
on it too.
Yeah.
We all have our Colemans where the lid's removable.
Yeah.
And you have to cut the little plastic
Right.
strap in
you
between.
just cut the hinge. Yeah, like this hinge is annoying.
Yeah, we all have those.
Yeah. So this hinge system, right? The lid and the base are integrated together with these teeth here, and then there's a metal bar going rod going through both hinges. So, like you literally, I'll tell you this. There's a funny story from like the first year when we started the company. We went out to the National Tractor Pull Championship in Bowling Green, Ohio. And we since have been there, and I think this will be our 5th year
One
going.
of the coolest events.
We love
Hey, I'm a redneck. I've watched it a few times. So
It is, if you've never been, it is like you think NASCAR's cool. You think this is hillbilly heaven, man. It is awesome.
It's cool.
So
it's cool. And the first year we went out there, I think they I don't know how they found us, but they contacted us, and I told Chris, like, do you want to go to this tractor pull? He's like, all right, sure. So we like loaded up a truck and we drove out there, and like unbelievable the response we got. But there was that first year we went back the second year, get back to my story.
Yeah.
A guy came up to us and had this cooler that he had bought it the first year, and the thing was just destroyed. Just absolutely mauled, but it's still functioning, lids in place and everything. He's like, guess what happened? I had your cooler in the back of my truck. I'm going 65 miles an hour down the freeway, and then it fell out somehow
on I-70.
Hit the pavement a bunch of times. Then a semi truck hit the cooler behind me, shot it across the road, and he's like, "Oh man, my cooler's dead." And he comes back and he goes to get it, and he's like, mean, it was scratched up, but it's still here,
still functioning,
and it still works, and the lid is still on the cooler, right?
He brought it back to the show.
That's
we
cool.
called it the I-70. We used to say we're I-70 certified.
Yeah.
But literally, there was a down the backside of it is this tire mark. You can see the tires, a semi-tire right down the side of it, burnt into the plastic.
That's pretty cool.
See, Bear certified, I-70 certified.
Yeah,
come on,
right.
So yeah, I mean, that's the hinge thing actually seems kind of minor, but
take a beat.
The lid stays on, man. It's not coming off.
What has been the feedback, the primary feedback from the consumers of your product? You have various sizes, right? What's the most popular one that you sell? And then what has been the general feedback in terms of, because I'm sure everyone has experience with different coolers. What has been the standout feedback?
So I'll answer and then you can go ahead and answer.
Yeah.
So first thing I'd say is when we first got into this, I was surprised, not surprised, but caught off guard a little bit by how important ice retention is. That is the factor that everybody measures their coolers by. How long will it hold ice, right? Which I guess at the end of the day makes sense because that's what you're buying it for. So I'd say that's one thing that surprised me. And I will also say that these things are not magic boxes, right? So you have to actually do it the right way to get that ice to get to the 10 days, which we will, but there's a certain process you have to follow, and we try to provide our customers with that knowledge, right?
There's so little cooler education. The guy fills the whole thing up, and then he puts like 3 cups of ice in there, and he's like, it didn't last.
Well, that or you take a hot cooler that's been sitting in the sun that's 100 degrees and you dump a bunch of ice in it. Why didn't it last 10 days?
And so that's the one thing we're always talking with people about is you've got to have a burn. If your cooler's sitting in the garage, you got to burn a bag of ice, and then it's going to work.
Correct.
Right? Always got to burn.
And that
ice.
seems like a pain in the butt. But if you are going hunting or you're going to a place where you really need it, like, look, it's worth not ruining your trip.
And again, too, I would say, just from my experience is I always just try and take 2 coolers. One for food, drinks, whatever. A second one that's going to continually stay cold that I don't open throughout the 7 or 10 days, the whole hunt, until I'm putting meat in it. Because when I'm opening, getting drinks out, food out, you're constantly letting the temperature rise.
So it seems like a bit of an awkward, I got to buy this cooler and then I got to, but I'm like, look, it's not about the cooler. It's about the trip. It's about the experiences, right? The cooler is something that helps facilitate the joy you're having from that hunt, sitting around the campfire with your buddies. Like, so this is, we just want to maximize your ability to enjoy that time.
Yep.
So the second thing I would say, and then you can answer as far as like what feedback we get. Wheels are critical. Like we get so much feedback about how important it is to have wheels on the
quality wheels.
Right. Not, I mean, you can build these in a way where they're like these little tiny wheels that sort of integrate into the plastic and whatever. Like having a large, durable wheel. I mean, we've messed around with a whole bunch of ideas.
These aren't your luggage wheels.
They're not add-ons. They're built into the molds.
Right.
This was a wheeled build. This wasn't a cooler that we then tried to retro wheels to. No, this was built to be this.
So I'd say those are kind of the 2 big things that jumped out at me.
And I think a lot of the features you guys have used them. You just talked about some. You guys are typical users. Like you get out in the woods and you bang it up. Like, this is our users. Whether it's boating, camping, hunting, whatever. The latches. I mean, I'm a big cooler user, so the latches are huge for me. I want to be able to just flick them and get it with one hand. I don't want to be able to have to. And we used to manufacture those, so I understand it, but I don't want to have to reef on them. The pressure valve is cool. It's not necessarily my biggest because a drain cap works
exactly.
as it. But we will have customers be like, I cannot open my cooler. What? I'm like, just go ahead and turn that thing. You'll be fine.
You can hear it on the phone go, like, you're good now.
And they will be like, oh, yeah, never mind. Sorry. But it is helpful to have it right up front. And then, again, for me, like handles on our wheels, that might seem like a stupid thing to be. But go stand behind one and get your ankles whacked a few times, and then you'll start to appreciate.
Right, they have this little weird handle that's like so long on these wheeled ones, and then you're hitting yourself constantly. Yeah, that's one thing about as I tested it, it's just seamless. The only thing that I would say I'm curious about, as we banged it up, used it, hauled heavy loads in it, all that kind of stuff, over uneven ground and all that. The foam on the handle, is it going to last?
No.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because I was going to say, everything else about it seems like...
I'll be totally honest with you on the handle. We've tried numerous different...
I mentioned to Brad, I said to him, I don't know if you even need the foam, do you?
You don't. You don't. It's just, it helps when we
little bit of
sell
ergonomic to like...
It helps me sell it, and we've tried a bunch of different things.
Yeah.
But being a user, I'm telling you, it's not going to last. I'd be totally upfront with people, and I'm like, you don't need it there.
Yeah.
It doesn't do anything for the workability. It doesn't help your hand feel any better. And all the things we've tried on there, it's just a point that gets a lot of banging.
Right.
It does.
I used it, and I'm like, I could see it lasting quite a while if you're paying attention and you just use it, and it's there, and But I was also like, even if it came off, do I care? So I pulled it off, and I'm like, I don't really think it. I'm not sure. I could see though. It's just like this teepee that we use. We don't use the floor. The floor's dumb to us. Yet 80% of the public won't buy it without a floor. They're like, it has a floor? Oh, I'm in.
And that's how that foam kind of is. I'm a user, so I answer the question very honestly when people talk to me. I'm like, it will tear, it will catch on things. It just does.
Yeah.
I've tried 20 different materials. They all catch, they all tear. But it doesn't. Even if it falls off, go carry it.
And I can see, for me, if I wanted something with a little grip on it, then I'm going to put some textured tape around it.
Yeah. Take some baseball grip tape.
That's exactly.
Baseball grip tape. I'm going to wrap it, and then boom, I'm good to go.
It's funny, though. You clearly are a good user of coolers.
Yeah.
That is the one thing I'm looking at this. As I use it, I'm like, do we need to do something different there, right? And you may see something different. I'm just...
That's the only thing that I could pick apart as I messed around with it and stuff, where I was like, this probably won't last. But like I said, I went through it and was like, it doesn't matter per se.
It does not affect performance of the cooler.
No. It doesn't help your hand carrying. Correct. It doesn't do anything. And again, I answer questions pretty honestly. I'm not going to bullshit you and say, "Oh no, that foam will last."
Yeah.
No, it won't. Not if you really bang them up.
I'm kind of using the middle anyway. A lot of the time, not the corner.
Yeah.
And so I like the different grips. You don't have to grab it just in the middle. You can grab it with two hands out here.
Yeah.
I was pulling it with two hands when it was heavy loaded, and walking backwards with it, or with one hand and pulling it
off to the side.
Off to the side. There's different options. You can have a buddy and you each grab one side, which is great. Yeah. Name another cooler that where you have that grip. I haven't really.
The thing is, a big cooler, most time you have two guys.
You got to
anyway,
have two guys
on one on each end.
You fill it full of meat.
Exactly.
They're heavy.
You can wheel this one.
They're heavy.
Yeah.
And the thing is too is with the foam, with the latches, you're also hitting the other avenues of the family. Your wife got a baby in her hand, one hand opening the cooler.
And to that point, one thing that, because we love the feedback, right? Like that's how we improve is through feedback from actual users.
Yeah.
And you mentioned a group of customers so we've mostly talked today with you guys about our 10-day ice models, this traditional blue cooler design.
I was going to ask you about the cobalt.
Yeah, we have. So, and the reason is because hunters are generally going to use this one.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
But as we started doing this after a couple of years, we realized, hey, there's a lot of moms going to soccer games and things where they're like, this thing is heavy and I'm just going for 12 hours to a soccer game right now. Right. So we came out with another line under our Blue Coolers company. It's called Cobalt Coolers, and it's designed to be a 5-day ice cooler. It's lighter weight, little smaller. We don't have, with Blue, there's 2 inches of insulation on these walls. We slimmed that down, and it's actually become really popular.
Yeah.
Because there are people that have that. These get used for so many different types of uses, and sometimes they just don't need this big rugged cooler.
How many people that live 20 miles from a grocery store just use a cooler to get home?
To haul.
groceries.
And the price point's a little lower.
Yeah.
You know, we factored all those things in. It's manufactured with the same materials, same quality. It'll have the same lifespan, but it just hits that user that isn't going 10 miles into the backcountry.
The first time I threw ice in a soft cooler for the day, I was like, this is a one-day cooler, right? But it's perfect for us at the beach and hiking down.
You're not expecting it. The
car
last 10
drive,
days.
Yeah. And my wife, her favorite like day cooler that she uses when we got to hike in someplace, you know, pretty far, she throws that backpack Yeti tube on her, and she throws, and I'm like, the ice doesn't last a couple hours even in that thing. It annoys the crap out of me. But when I'm not around, she's a gal, and she doesn't want to deal with something that's a lot bigger, but that Cobalt could fit that perfectly. And now you're dealing with something that actually can retain.
When you have the soft coolers like that too, you know, that have the backpack straps.
But with the soft, you're right. Like soft coolers, if you think you're gonna like hold ice for days on that thing, like
nope,
you're wrong. Just think again.
It's to keep your drink cool on the drive. That's about it. With the AC going.
The real one question I got for you guys is I want to know what it's going to take to get Marcus like on an archery hunt at some point.
I'm ready, man. I'm ready to go.
Have you guys ever had an attorney that loves Excel spreadsheets on one of your hunts?
We try and keep those in the office.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm just kidding.
I kind of did that in my previous life.
He always loves giving me a hard time. So, truth be told, like Chris prides himself on being the hunter guy and whatever. Like, I've never been on a hunt, man. Like I'm a nerd. I know. Like you guys gotta take me on one. I got all these friends and they're going on these cool hunts and stuff. And like I've always just been like I ski, I wakeboard, I do these things, but I've just never got into hunting. You know.
Yeah. Well,
so
you do some fishing,
everybody's gonna
right?
hate me now, probably. But
you do some fishing.
Yes. Yeah. So I grew up. My dad's a fly fisher. Some reason it just never. So I'm ready.
Yeah. I just want him to experience. Getting
big
up in the
bull
early
elks.
morning.
Well, I just think we go
little bugle.
I
Little
just think we go
answer.
sit in grizzly bear country, and that'll make him or break him real fast. Though.
Just there's nothing like a bull coming in, pissing all over himself, and
this,
you're like,
this could be fun.
My gosh,
we could work on something like
Dude,
that.
I'm telling you right now, I'm ready. I will go.
It's life altering.
I've wanted to.
It's life altering.
Change.
You're like, holy smokes.
Well, I'll say this. You know, like I was fortunate to grow up hunting from a tiny age. Same with you. And I've had friends that never experienced that. We take that for granted, and then we go out in the field and they're with us and they hear, say my wife, for example, she never heard of bull elk bugle. Yeah, we're in Yellowstone National Park, and yes, I had a diaphragm in my mouth. Yes, I was calling elk. Anyway, probably go to jail for that. But anyway, it was like they got to experience screaming, rutting bulls, you know, and she was like, there is nothing like that
incredible.
ever.
It's incredible.
And it is.
You want to appreciate Mother Nature and it is. I mean, I get goosebumps. I'm like, it's freaky. Like you're like, wow, that is incredible.
One of the things that, speaking of hunting, people are going to ask about is, can I fit an elk quarter in your cooler? Not quite. Not quite. With
and we have the 110. We're not showing it here. We have a 110 that's larger than this, but it's probably just
I can fit my bear, and I can fit
any boned out meat.
Any
no question.
Boned out. Yeah.
No question.
Which we do. 90% of our hunts are boned out. I mean, it's just how we roll.
Yeah.
But that's something to consider, because down the road, I know there's a lot of elk hunters that they want to throw a full. That's a deal breaker for them.
Yeah.
Right. They're looking to put a whole elk quarter in a cooler and have it fit. A lot of our audience, though, does backpack hunt. And most of them debone it to get it out of the backcountry.
Right.
I mean, I'd say that's probably the bulk of our audience. And so it's not really relevant. You know, they don't have to have that cooler. But there are the few that do their share. I'd say more actual guys road hunt or hunt near a road or day camp where, they're packing out the full quarters.
Quartered up and go.
It's something we've thought about a lot.
It'd be interesting to get the feedback, especially from the show, if a lot of your listeners, because we've talked about even a 160, 165 wheeled.
Yeah.
It would probably be the only one offered on the market. I don't know of any that are offered on the market.
It'd be a game changer.
We'd have to
we can ask people to leave a comment on the YouTube video or send us an email and let us know what you think.
Because we've talked about it.
That'd be like that's our idea.
Well, and that would be
I think that would be
the gritty model.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
You know,
I like that. I like that.
The gritty series. We might be on to
The
something
gritty
here.
series. There you go.
I like it.
I like it.
I'll say this as we're on the wheeled subject. One of the handles is the first thing I noticed, but with the wheels, here's the other thing: is I was sliding a cooler into the back of my truck.
Yeah.
I didn't jump into the back of my truck to move that cooler from the.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say all the way to the front of the bed, but wheel well back. I did not jump in the truck.
Which is game changer.
Grabbed the handle and I pulled it out, which most of the time you cannot do.
You know, I've thought about that too. The other thing too is it doesn't slide around, even though it has wheels.
Yeah.
With the rubber on there, and even some of my other coolers, they'll shift around back there that don't have the rubber bottoms.
Yeah, we've got non-slip rubber feet.
Those,
so you've got your wheels, and then your front anchor points are non-slip.
Back to earlier in the discussion, I sometimes I just got to ask this for people that start new companies because it still fascinates me even now.
Well, you've done it, man. I mean,
yeah, but starting a media company is one thing, but a hard goods company or even a backpack or something, sewn goods, whatever, soft goods. I look at some of this and I think, what made you think you could just start a cooler company? like
You have to have a screw loose.
Like the same thing. I remember talking to Bryce and he gave me these trekking poles early on, and I'm like, who are you? And he's like, I'm an accountant, and you hunt on elk once a year, and you're like, and my question, what makes you think you can just make a trekking pole?
Yeah.
And I go to REI, and there's like multi-million-dollar companies in there that have a whole teams dedicated to these designs, and you just did it with your brother in a garage. Okay, what? And I'm sort of dismissing him and his idea all in one fell swoop, and he's like, no, but for real, they're not meeting the need of our community.
Yeah.
They're making the need of the skier and the trekker without a backpack and the this and the that. They're not doing for us. And I'm thinking about it and I'm like, well, yeah, I guess you're right. And then I test the product and I realize he did it.
Yeah.
He made something better, and he's pro hunting, and he's all about our values at the same time. And it's a great way for him to build a business around his own family and his own future. And I love to be part of that. So it comes back to like even guys. I remember early on, I was hanging out with some of the guys that had built their own backpack, and I'm like, who made you think you could just start making a backpack? And
God bless America.
Yeah, and it's just like, I love it. And most of the guys that have started their own backpack company, they had no basis for it whatsoever to start. They just didn't like what was there, and they thought they could do it better. So what made you guys think, oh, I can just be a cooler company?
Honestly,
it
came from similar kind of frustrations that you talk about. Your buddy in his garage, he's like, they're not meeting my. Mm-hmm. That's kind of how I've been in manufacturing for quite a while, so super familiar. Had contacts in manufacturing, and we had some of the same. We got introduced by my little brother, and we have a emergency backpack company that we had been manufacturing 72-hour kits and things like that. And I'm like, Mark, we got talking about the outdoor world, and we're like, we really want to tie our businesses to the outdoor world. We both have big families. We love the outdoors. We live on the West where we're all about the outdoors. And so our situation was kind of similar. We're like, I think we can build a better product for cheaper. Like, I know we're not $1 billion company, but I still think we can build it better than them. And I think that's why I say God bless America.
Right.
Because I think this is a country that allows some guy sitting in his garage to be like, you have $1 billion, but I don't like your product. I think I can do it better.
Right.
And they can.
I will say, Chris and I are a little bit like a yin and yang.
Yeah, yin and yang.
So,
Who's
who?
Who's who?
I don't even know which one's which.
I don't either.
Chris is the yang.
For sure. Which one's the good one? That's me. No, so I think he had much more confidence going into this than I did that we can do that, because I was kind of like, the hell we can't. What are you talking about? Like,
that's a big jump.
And so we just kind of did it. I don't know, right? I think it takes
I think it takes a screw loose.
Yeah,
like you have to have a partner that. I've always been an entrepreneurial person, always.
Right.
Like I went to school, I got my degree. The second I got my degree, I went and opened a feed and farm supply store.
Yeah.
I was not a farmer, but I'm like, I can do this, selling hog feed to pig farmers.
Mm-hmm.
So I've always had this, like, let's go for it. And I've been blessed enough to have a wife who's always game. Like, oh, we want to be an outfitter in Montana and live in the backwoods? Let's do it.
Let's do it.
You know, homeschool my 4 kids? Sure, I've never done that. Let's do it. Let's do it. So I think I think it's critical, and I say that you got to have somebody involved that has a screw loose. Maybe entrepreneurs have a screw loose because they think
they're creative.
I can do that just as good as that $1 billion company. I can do it better. Where most people are like, no, you can't.
Yeah.
But they can.
Yeah. And I think there's a certain amount of humility that you have to have going into it too. Mm-hmm. Because those early years, like you said, everybody looks at you like, you're an idiot. Like, what are you doing? Right. Especially early on. They're like,
and I think it's key. The older you get, you start to realize, I'm an idiot. You quit thinking I'm not an idiot.
Or you just don't care.
Yes.
As you get older, because I'm sitting around a bunch of old guys right now. No, I'm just kidding.
Amen. But I think you accept that, we're all just idiots trying to do our best. I'm not smarter than you. I'm not smarter than you.
Right. Yeah.
I just have a feeling for this product. And
I think it comes down to a drive, but it also comes down to you have to have a little bit of, as you say, a screw loose, but you have to have a little bit of ambition.
Yeah.
And you have to have commitment to yourself to like believe in yourself, really, you know?
There's a degree of, there's also 2 things at play, I think. There's belief or faith, and there's the ability to delay gratification.
Oh, yes.
You know, trade in what you want right now today for what you hope to get down the road, right? There's a gamble, right? And a lot of folks just aren't willing to gamble. Mm-hmm. They're just not willing to take that chance. They want the sure paycheck in their hand now rather than the massive paycheck that may or may not come down the road. And so it takes a lot of confidence in your own ability to create something 3 years from now, 10 years from now.
Yeah. You have to have a vision of that. You have, and I also think, like, if we were just looking at this like a payday, right?
Yeah.
Like if that's my only focus, it's going to be really hard.
We'd
right?
fail.
We just got to focus on like, let's make good products and let's be successful along the way. And the money part will take care of itself if we're doing the right things. That's kind of how I've had to think about it.
As you're doing that, you're also thinking about meeting the needs of the consumer, because that is number one.
When I started the podcast, I went through a similar deal because it didn't make any money for a long time. And at first I didn't plan to either. I started the podcast for fun so I could talk to cool people, you know, so I could have excuse to interview Joe Rogan. I didn't expect it. I just want to put a headset on somebody that knew more about stuff than I did and have an excuse to have a intense conversation, right? I had no intention of it making money. I just thought it'd make some friends. I'd get to know people. And I had a great 6-figure income over here already, and it was growing every year. I was rising in the company. So it was like, I didn't need this. But a year and a half in, it was becoming its own monster. And it was like, I can actually switch careers and just do this. And I thought about what I was leaving behind. Could I go back to it? And I was like, yeah, you know what? I could go get this job all day long. This job, probably not. Let's see if I can be a full-time podcaster. Sounds crazy.
He tells me that all the time.
So I'm like, let's do it. So I go and I started, and I thought about it, and I was like, okay, what if it doesn't make money or it fails in a year or 2 or 3 years? It just is over. My mindset is more like 2 things. If it does fail, I still walked away with an education.
Yeah.
Like I still had life experiences that you can't take away from me, even if I didn't get the money out of it.
Yeah.
But also, I'm not going to fail.
Yeah.
I'm going to find a way.
Yeah.
I'm just going to find a way. I'll climb over the mountain. I'll go around it. I'll go through it. I'll find a way. So I'm kind of wired that way to say, well, I'll just figure it out.
Yeah.
I'm very confident in that ability to figure it out. I'll adapt, improvise, overcome, you know.
I pulled my cell phone out, not to pull my cell phone out during this.
Yeah.
Because I thought of Phil Knight, and he had the Nike guy, and he had these 10 things. And I love his number 10 is, if we do the right things, will make money damn near automatic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like your podcast, you stick to your core values, you stick to what you love, and you just hammer
Execute.
at that. And if you do it and you do it right and you stay true to those things, ultimately you'll make money. Now, am I going to be a $1 billion company? I don't really care.
Yeah.
If maybe my success is different. Maybe my kids get to work here at the warehouse and learn principles of working. And maybe I make a friend on the other side of the country who fishes and he comes snowmobiling with me. Right. That's cool. That's
what I mean. Like, my goals were so much lower when I started. And I was content with that. I was like, hey, it's an adventure. Go on a few hunts. I'll meet some cool people. I'll have some great interviews. It'll be a fun thing. And if I can't figure it out, I still walked away with a better education than I got in college.
Yeah.
So I feel like you were saying earlier, Marcus, your mindset was, it's not just a payday that you're seeking. That's the goal. That's part of the goal. Same for me. Mm-hmm. But more important than that is actually a journey. And you're okay with the journey itself, if that's all you get out of it in the end and it didn't work out. I always say this on the podcast, 40-year-old Brian succeeded where 30-year-old Brian failed.
Yeah.
And younger. Like, the reason I feel like I had a successful podcast and now outdoor film company and all that is because of all the stuff I did my whole life leading up to that. And I had a lot of businesses I started and failed and interests and things I invested in, from real estate to livestock, to farming, to all kinds of things that failed.
Yeah.
In the end, I did okay, but they weren't but all that stuff prepared me for when this happened.
Yeah.
It worked.
It got you to that point. I talk about my in-laws a lot. My in-laws are high school sweethearts. Got married when they were like 16, 17.
Yeah.
High school graduates, just grinders. Like,
sounds like my parents.
Sweetest freaking people on the planet, and entrepreneurial. So failed, start again.
Yeah.
Fail, start again. Half the time they're failing, not because of anything they did. Outside things happen that cause it to fail. They just keep at it, and they just keep this positive vibe, and they're just, just incredible, awesome, solid people. In their early mid-60s, my father-in-law is out in his garage cutting these things called squatty potties out of plywood.
Yeah.
And he's making these squatty potties, and I'm like, what are these things you're doing, Bill? But he's just grinding it, and they're going to little medical shows and getting local doctors. That company is a $40 million a year company.
Yep.
And it happened for them in their mid to late 60s.
Yeah.
And I use them all the time as, if you don't think you can, but you have it, just keep at it.
Right.
Keep a positive vibe and keep at it.
Yep.
And they're the perfect storybook, because my father-in-law would always be like, man, I'm kind of a failure. But I'm like, Bill, you're not, because you keep going.
Yeah.
You just keep
That's
at
how
it.
I feel about hunting. I'm not the best hunter in the world. Like, there's guys that I know they just have a better instinct, or they just have they're better under pressure, let's say, or whatever the reasons are. My skill is not quitting. Yeah. That's why the name Gritty, right? It's just like, I'm gonna just do the best I have with the tools I have, but I won't quit. And that right there is a gift, because I remember playing ball in high school at basketball, and all through high school. And I'd come on these guys that had 1,000 times the talent that I had, but they didn't work. They didn't work like I did.
Yeah.
And over time, I got pretty efficient. I got good. Well, they had more talent, natural ability. I still surpassed them and got positions and plays and got to shine in a way that they didn't, because all the talent in the world only takes you so far. I would much rather trade it for grit in the end. Mm-hmm. And I've realized that grit and determination, hard work, never quitting, it's actually pretty rare.
It's very rare.
It's not a and it takes a tremendous faith in yourself and whatever you're doing.
I think it's even more rare in today's cultural environment where our parents grew up on farms.
Yeah.
They went to war. They knew people that went to war. Like, you grinded it out. That was today. You get social media. All you have to do is watch. You get
There's an entitlement culture and a victim culture which circumvents any. When you tell yourself there's nothing I can do to succeed because the system's there to stop me. You kind of
grittiness.
That's a total
tough.
Opposite mindset.
Yeah.
You're defeated before you get started.
You said earlier, and same with you, Marcus, as you talked about weathering out the storm. Most people, they talk about all the time is when they're starting up a business or whatever it may be, they get to that one point where it's like, if I can push through here, I take off. But most people hit that point and then it's like, I'm done. When you only had this much more to go and you succeed.
Grit is value. Grit is massive. I coached high school baseball for 12 years.
Yeah.
I always talk about one athlete that I coached. He just signed with the Minnesota Vikings as a quarterback this last year in the draft, 5th round pick. He was always this incredible athlete, and people would say, "Oh, it's God-given
his talent.
That's what got him there." And I'm like, "No, we have a 3-hour practice. Yeah. I load up my car. I get ready to leave the parking lot. Where is that individual going? I see him in the weight room, and I drive back past the weight room 2 hours later. He's still in the weight room. There's nobody there.
Yeah,
this is his grit." Solely his grit. And he was like that the whole time I coached him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that is what got him. He had the talent.
Oh, when you combine the two?
Yeah, when you throw grit on top of that, I'm like, whoo,
when you take Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
And then you add the drive and the competitiveness and the never quit and I'll do whatever it takes. Yeah, that's where you get the world's best, right?
You guys have a phrase on a lot of your podcasts. It's like, some men can, some men can't.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Right? Because I think sometimes grit is, for me, I love that phrase because I'm always challenging myself too, right? I'm not going to be one of those, I can't do it. I'm not. Like, if it's something where it's a question of talent and I don't have it, that's one thing. But if it's a question of I'm going to give up, like, I'm not going to give up.
Yeah.
I will not.
And that was really,
you have to have that mindset.
And that was really in reference of a mountain we were climbing, right? And that's kind of a metaphor for life. Some men can climb the mountain and some men can't climb the mountain. Mm-hmm. And which one are you going to be? It's kind of a call to action. It's it's personal inventory. It's a look in the mirror to say, who am I? Who do I want to become in life? And
well, I would add on top of that is over time, that doesn't happen right away. You can't just do it right away. Yeah. It's a slow progression of small victories over and over, building yourself up. It's just like all our hunts now. People are like, man, you go out for how many days at a time? We are so comfortable going out for 10 days at a time. It doesn't matter. We can stay out there 30 days, 50 days.
No big deal.
We have food and water. We can stay out there forever. We're comfortable. And I think just the same way with the some men can, some men can't. You have to build up to that.
Yeah.
People going solo, they have a hard time with that. You build up to it a couple nights here and there.
Yeah. You're going to fail. It is just, you start over again.
Yep.
I think it's great what you guys are doing. I'm glad we got to meet, Marcus. I'm glad that we've started working together. Folks, if they want to get a cooler, they can use the code GRITTY and they're going to get a little discount.
That's correct.
And it helps us and it helps you guys. And it's an excellent product. I always say this, it's a win-win for our audience when we get great partners working with us. So,
and it's great for us. I mean, we hope to get a lot of feedback from your audience and
before
learn. I mean, this is great.
Before we close out, I kind of want to touch on the emergency kits too. I don't know if you guys want to or not.
Sure, yeah.
But that was one that caught my eye on the site right off the bat.
I mean, if just to do a little plug for the company, right? If you go to bluecoolers.com, also available in Canada as well. So you can go to bluecoolerscanada.com. We have emergency kits, several different varieties of 72-hour style emergency kits. Yep. We have the coolers. We have a whole bunch of accessories for these coolers as well, too. Dividers, dry baskets, lock kits, light kits, all, if you want to just add to your cooler, you can. And we're looking to do a whole bunch more over the coming years to continue to expand the offering that we have.
I love it.
To our customers, right?
That's cool. The preparedness feature is something that, between Hunt Harvest Health, Stealthy Hunter, myself, we're really, because we go out, we take big game, fish, we bring it home, we process it, and we store it, for the future. It's kind of part and parcel with everything else that we do. Gardens, farming, our Lampers and Hillary are way into the farming thing. Suzanne, my wife, she grows quite a bit as well. And then they process it, can it, do all that kind of stuff. We have an audience that cares about that stuff, preparedness and preparation for that rainy day. I tell you, when COVID hit us, we didn't care. They closed down everything. Businesses were closed. It's like we had all the food we needed for as long as this thing was going to last. I mean, it really was such a non-issue for us. And I realized I took it utterly for granted because we had friends who were running out, panicked, buying all this stuff, getting ready.
I was going to say toilet paper was the only concern.
And you're like,
still the oddest thing in the world, right?
And it was kind of baffling to see, realize how unprepared, how unready, how little food people have. Enough food for like 30 days. That's it. They don't have food for a year.
I would say 5 days.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't have food for 5 days.
That's pretty stark, So we have an audience that would probably be very interested in looking into that. But they can just go to Blue Coolers and they'll find all of it.
It's all there. Yeah. Well, also on Amazon if they want to go there too. I mean, we try to make things as easy for the customer so they can go find us wherever they want.
And there's a contact page probably on the website.
Yep.
So they can get on there if they want to ask questions, figure out what.
Yeah, they want to reach out to either Chris or I direct. Just fill out an email, say, "Hey, Chris, you're an idiot," or whatever, and you're welcome to say all that all you want.
You don't even say it. That's already established.
We have. We'll put in the description field of every video we put out. We go and update those with the partners that we're working with. So just any video on our Gritty channel, especially more recent one. Brad will have to go back and add that to older videos, but we'll get that up. So you can just go to a video, find a link to Blue Coolers, click it, and it'll take you right there. Cool. And then use the code Gritty and get a little savings. And let us know what you think of the coolers. Yeah. Because we'd like that feedback. You guys would like that too. And then let's figure out about this bigger cooler for the elk quarters.
Yeah.
Well, we'll be talking. Let's get some feedback, and then we'll talk with you guys.
Folks, lobby for it. You know you want it.
Marcus wants to go hunt.
It's a Gritty model.
That too.
Hey, I'm ready.
I'm
telling you. So here's the problem.
We'll change this attorney.
All you guys that are, no one wants to take me.
No,
right? I got
true.
Nobody wants
to
take you.
So I never go. All my friends, they all hunt,
but
no one's going to take me.
I'm going to throw this out there, Marcus. I'm the king of triacting, so you'll be able to go do it anytime you want. You know what that is? Just try acting like a man, and we'll get you out there.
Yeah, we will look around. You're right.
No one wants to take
me. See, no one's taking me, man.
Our audience is often asking for us to do a bear hunt giveaway or a deer hunt elk or something where we would do a giveaway to come hunt with us somewhere.
It's always hard.
It is. We have never done it, even though most of our peers do it all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that we would get a lot of people participate in that sort of
to take the giveaway hunting. That's
I'm so
I might be
Lampers and I are so we're intense, and we don't want to back off our intensity.
Yeah.
And so it's like when we do bring someone, we realize we need to be. Yeah. We have chains on us. It's like what we can go do.
I'm an avid snowmobiler. Avid. I have been forever. I have big mountain machines. I get into some crazy country. And so when I have a buddy like, hey, can I come? I'm like, all that means for me is 12 hours of pulling somebody out of a hole.
Yeah.
That's all it means to me.
And what happens is as you get older, you have only so many seasons, only so many outings. And so you start to be like, it starts to get harder and harder to give away your time with someone. To teach them, like your own kid, even like to bring your child along. So it is
maybe we take Marcus fishing.
But we have been talking about some options where we bring a group, like 2 or 3 guys, all at the same time that have never done it.
Yep.
and document it because it's so impactful for changing lives. And we pick a hunt where we go do it.
Yeah.
And it's not just
might
one
make for some
guy.
good comedy.
It's a few guys that are like all suffering together for the first time on something they've never done.
Well, it's so funny because in 2019, I went out with Brian for 5 days. I've been hunting for a long time, so I was pretty self-sufficient then.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember Brian kind of like, I didn't have to take care of him. And then 2020 rolls around, we do it again, and I go with Lampers and Brian. And I could tell, like, the first few days, Lampers was really trying to get the fillers, like, am I going to have to take care of this kid? Like, whatever, And by the end of it, it was like, I remember Ryan saying, we didn't have to do anything. Like, you're self-sufficient, you do it. And I'm like, I've been doing it for a long time as well.
We've cameramen and various others,
Mm-hmm.
That some men can, some men can't thing really comes into play with
really
us.
resonates.
And I'd say we shoot like 80% can't. They go do stuff with us or won't. So it's very.
And your style of hunting is that
it's just
small
what we want to do.
percentage.
And we're testing Brad, and a lot of guys say they can, but you know how many guys?
Yeah,
they go 10 miles in, and they're in day 2. They're like, they're hiking out.
They're out.
They're done.
Brian's got me packing 160 pounds of elk out. So
He did. I packed 140. He was carrying 160 for 8 miles.
Wow.
It was too much weight, but
it was stupid.
and he kept complaining about it being heavy.
Whatever.
And he's like, I think my pack's heavier than yours. And I'm like, shut up, dude. They weigh the same,
You get some triactin.
Adding rocks in there.
The difference, it gets every pound above a certain weight just starts to get exponentially heavier.
Heavy.
And the fact that he was carrying 160 when I was carrying 140 and I was calling him a baby, it was just great in hindsight. I was like, yeah, well, that's a lot heavier. I mean, that's the 20 pounds is more like 80 when you're at those loads, It's just like another level. So, he earned my respect on that one. So, but he's young, so we can do that to him.
Yeah.
Well, we've got a secret spot up in Star Valley. Maybe we'll get Marcus out. We'll take you guys up to Star Valley on some fishing. That's
be sweet.
Crazy.
Definitely. We have more ahead. I love that you guys, we share the same values. So I think that's our number one. And then that you make a great product is number two. You pass the first test, the second test. So now it's a matter of the audience getting in and for those if you're in need of a cooler, check out Blue Coolers. And thanks for tuning in. Leave us a comment below. We'll see you on the next one. Stay gritty.